excellent. Truly excellent. Characters as charming, a story as intriguing, a true successor to Undertale. Complementing each other's unique stories perfectly. Parallel stories. But Undertale and Deltarune do not just run in parallel to each other, they are opposites. And this realization is made clear by the fact that Deltarune is Undertale backwards. Deltarune begins in a void, speaking to an entity that can look beyond the fabric of the game, and to us, the player. The vessel through which we possess being the only thing in this void. And of course, most importantly of all, the affirmation that our choices don't matter. In parallel to the end of Undertale's genocide route, what do we have but a similar scenario? While our choices up until now have mattered, now they do not. We are no longer the ones in control. The beginning of Deltarune has us waking up within the Dreamer residence, Toriel by our side. Just as in Undertale, we end the pacifist route sleeping within Toriel's new surface house. On the surface, this seems like two connecting puzzle pieces, suggesting that Deltarune is a direct sequel to Undertale. However, we know this isn't the case due to Toby Fox making it very clear that this is a different world. Alongside things that don't line up, like Bratty and Caddy being enemies, and Alphys and Undyne not knowing each other. Instead, this is a reflection, with the final ending of Undertale reflecting the very beginning of Deltarune, and the ending you are likely to receive first, of Frisk living with Toriel, being reflected after that with Chris. Continuing on, we reach the Dark World. The Dark World in Deltarune seems to be its version of the Underground to a degree, and of course, right before we reach the surface of Undertale, we're in the Underground. Though this connection is negligible in comparison to Ralsei. Ralsei is a goat, just like Toriel, Asgore, and Asriel. But more than that, you likely already know that Ralsei's name is an anagram of Asriel's, meaning we can swap the letters of Ralsei around to create the name Asriel, establishing a clear connection between these two characters. So, the first Darkener we meet in Deltarune is tied to Asriel, whereas the final boss of Undertale, at the very edge of the Underground, is Asriel. Not to mention how after this, we go through a large door, not too dissimilar to Undertale's archway, and are led into the Field of Hopes and Dreams. Or at least that's what the song is pointed out to be called, the one you're currently listening to. This song shares a similar name to Hopes and Dreams, that being Asriel's boss theme in Undertale. Skipping ahead through the game a bit, we reach Card Castle. Large and oddly monochromatic, completely black aside from the white that outlines everything, perfectly in contrast to Undertale's final area of the city. And a castle where everything is monochromatically white, or, more accurately, gray, with black outlining it all. Perfectly opposite. The mere fact that the bosses are kings lines up on its own, but even more than that, unlike all the other enemies throughout Chapter 1, you cannot spare the king. Both Asgore and the Chaos King make points that they refuse to not fight. You have to fight both of them in order to defeat them. The only enemies in their games where this is the case. However, interestingly enough, the Chaos King can be defeated, just by outlasting his attacks for 15 turns, something I wasn't aware of until recently, and I thought might put a damper on this connection. However, if Deltarune is Undertale backwards, not just the pacifist route, but the genocide route as well, we must consider both. And as for the other final boss of Undertale, which you fight in this area, Sans, he is defeated simply by outlasting his attacks and waiting for him to fall asleep. Just like how one defeats the Chaos King. Chapter 2 is where this theory really bears fruit. Just looking at Chapter 1 in a bubble, you can easily assume it's a string of coincidences and casual Undertale references, as other things from Undertale are also lightly referenced in Chapter 1 as well. But alongside Chapter 2's cyberworld, now it's not a coincidence. It's a pattern. A futuristic techno-land to parallel the second-to-last area of Undertale, the core, with Undertale's boss of the core, Mettaton, being split across Queen and Spampton. Queen is an ostentatious robot who follows the player throughout the chapter, quipping with them. Their long-heeled legs that they use as part of their attacks, just like Mettaton, and if they couldn't get any more obvious, Queen's battle theme is called Attack of the Killer Queen, a blatant reference to the Mettaton finale, Attack of the Killer Robot. Then there's everyone's favorite salesman, 1997. Tell me, kiddo, do you want to be a big shot? This lovable little failure has a back alley shopfront, which at first glance bears no real resemblance to anything Undertale, but Toby Fox, the sick son of a hyperlink blocked, gave Spampton one pink eye and one yellow eye. Just like the two eye colors of the lovable duo sifting through the MTT Hotel's trash trying to sell you shit. They even both sell keys that unlock an area tying back to Mettaton. Speaking of... the big shot himself is the other half of the Mettaton coin, literally inhabiting and taking over Mettaton Neo's body. The wings, the legs, the bombs, the flying heads, and the giant fucking gun that actually gets to see usage in this game. Both their hard to go out to their audiences, but it's too bad we've gone golden, because after enough big shots of our own, they will both be trying to steal our souls to make themselves more popular. To make themselves big shots. The sheer amount of connections you can draw between these two should be staggering by now, with us transforming into the Yellow Soul being what seals the one-of-a-kind deal. You even have to fight Spampton Neo instead of Queen during the Snowgrave route, pairing pretty damn well with Undertale's Genocide route. So if Chapter 1 represents the end of Undertale, primarily the final area, and Chapter 2 reflects the core, then this logic should carry throughout the other chapters as well. Based on what we've seen of Chapter 3 so far, it seems heavily Wild West and desert-themed, while the Undertale equivalent should be Hotland. The pairings continue to make sense. This would even suggest that the boss of Chapter 3 will have spider-like qualities to Parrot Muffet as the Hotland boss, maybe even having the player become the Purple Soul in this chapter. Chapter 4 should be a reflection of Waterfall, Chapter 5 a reflection of Snowdin, maybe even a certain Ice Palace. Then Chapter 6 will be the Ruins. That obviously leaves Chapter 7 empty, however. The Ruins are the first area of Undertale, but it's not the first thing you encounter.
Howdy! I'm Flowey! Flowey the Flower! That's a great name.
The Demon Flower himself is what's going to be Chapter 7's reflection. Asriel has been mentioned time and time again in Deltarune. However, he's off at college. But according to Toriel, at the very beginning of the game, he's coming home next week. Likely just in time for the last chapter of the game. Or at least, that's half of it.
I just have one question for you, Kara. How did you get back to the ruins from here? Wait, I know. She must have taken you when she left, and decided to give you a proper burial, rather than hanging out in the basement forever.
Deltarune is Undertale Backwards. A reflection of it. Each and every character has their counterpart. Each and every Undertale character is reflected in Deltarune. So what does this mean for Chris? Based on the name alone, they will be assumed to be Frisk. They are the character the player inhabits, after all. But Kara makes just as much sense, also wielding the Red Soul and truly being the adoptive sibling to Asriel, plus that infamous shirt. Well, let me hit you with a curveball. Deltarune is all about not being in control, your choices not mattering, and most of it builds off Undertale. The feud between Chris and the player is the true crux of the narrative. We try but fail to play the piano, which Susie mocks, visually upsetting Chris, who is actually skilled at playing the piano. Spampton's character is about being a puppet on strings, and projects that onto Chris, who is the same as a heart on a chain. Chris needs to be told to sit down. They don't have autonomy. They don't have control. Based on what we know about their personality, they are fearful and don't like being under our control. They want to be free of us, one who one day took over their life. Yet, when they do obtain freedom, when they rip out our soul from their body, they go on to do evil things. They tear open the dark fountain in the library. They slash Toriel's tires. They open a fountain in the living room, despite knowing from Ralsei that these fountains will lead to the destruction of the world. Fountains that require our soul to seal. Why is Chris doing this? As an act of defiance against us? Making more game and bringing about the end of the world is defiance to us? That word. World. Their world.
How does this game relate to Undertale? Is it a sequel?
Please don't worry too much about that. Essentially, this is not the world of Undertale. If you completed Undertale, the ending and world are as you left it. If everyone was happy there, the people in Undertale's world will still be happy. So please, don't worry about those characters and that world. It will remain untouched. To rephrase that, Deltarune's world is a different one, with different characters that have lived different lives. A whole new story will happen. Where have we heard that word before? World. Deltarune is not a sequel to Undertale. It takes place in a different world, but if Gaster can travel across worlds, if Sans can travel across worlds, then why can't Kara? At the end of the genocide route of Undertale, if we want to get the world back, we need to sell our soul to Kara. The soul is meta. It's ours, the players. We are literally moving on from the world of Undertale to the world of Deltarune, and the consequences of our actions in Undertale never escape us. Once we sell our soul to Kara, there is nothing we can do short of buying a new computer in order to not have the consequences follow us into future resets. So what does this mean for Deltarune? Well, once again, Deltarune makes it very clear that the soul represents us. We are the soul. So before the very beginning of Deltarune Chapter 1, we shouldn't have been controlling Chris, as we, the player, were not present. Yet the Dark Fountain of Castletown and the unused classroom already exist. Chris does not react to the fact we are now controlling them, as no one we interact with sees a reaction in Chris. When we first enter the Dark World, interacting with the first save point says, "At times you see it flickering, the light only you can see. By second nature, you reach out and..." Chris already has a save file. Unlike Undertale, where it was empty, Chris has already saved before. Chris was probably already in the Dark World before this had ever happened. Chris rips out our soul as if they already know what's going on. This doesn't seem new to them. Then in Chapter 2, when we visit the mysterious red doors south of town, Monster Kid seems to mention something as if something happened to Chris while they were inside this mysterious bunker. And I believe this is where Chris may have first obtained our soul. We have a Chris who was seemingly already being controlled before we, the player, entered the scene. A Chris who casually rips us out of their body and does evil things. A Chris who has our soul that we sold to Kara in the game prior to this one, a game of which on consoles Deltarune literally recommends you play first. A Chris who pulls out a knife and turns to look at the camera with glowing red eyes. Looks not at the camera, but at the player. At you. Chris is not just being controlled by the player. They are being controlled by Kara as well. The goal of whom is most likely to destroy this world, just like the world of Undertale. Chris has an obsession with chocolate, just like Kara. Visually, throwing themselves out of their bed looks similar to Kara when they had first fallen into the underground. When Chris stumbles around after ripping the soul out, their body is hanging, head low, knees bent, almost like a puppet on strings. But now we're back to level 1. we can't really kill anyone. So we get Noelle to do it for us. Kara is trying to bring about the end of the world through the roaring, an outcome that is inevitable, as there is only one ending. An outcome shown to us if we decided not to persist after death. An outcome that is exactly the same as when we destroy the world at the end of the genocide route. Pure darkness. We are no longer in control. Deltarune is a sequel to Undertale. We know who Sans is. The narration references narration from Undertale. And don't forget who the narrator of Undertale is. You could wash your hands here. But isn't the sink in the bathroom better? The narrator forces you to go into the bathroom to wash your hands because the narrator is the same one who rips out your soul. You're probably wondering at this point how this ties back into the original argument of this video. Well, as Kara is the last thing you see within Undertale, Kara should be the first thing you see in Deltarune.